Welcome to the ET Stand, the Cronulla Sharks fans podcast. You idiots, I'm just laughing at these clowns just trying to make faces at me in the background. On this episode of the ET Stand podcast, we are going to work out why, stop it, you idiots. We're going to try and work out what a dynasty is and if the Cronulla Sharks can ever build one of their own. We're just not content with one premier. These idiots in the background, I'm going to stop them from pulling faces at me. Let's just bring them in. That is Boldo's Tears. Chris Kelly, who would you move?
Where do we start? I'm glad Boldo didn't grow up in Egypt times because that's a terrible looking pyramid. It would have fallen over and collapsed by now. And given that he just Googled the squad and put Matt Ikuvalu in the bottom and he hasn't been there since half of last year, our pyramid would have fallen.
He's still on the page.
The pyramid would have fallen over. You would have been missing a foundation piece and it's fallen over.
Oh, Maloney is still... Away goes James Maloney! They're kicking him home, the Sharks fans! Maloney is there! Healy! It's Healy! And gone! On his departure day! Mitch Healy gets a try! The crowd have gone absolutely bereft!
In amongst all of that, Lats had an awesome story about how awesome this Finau guy was, and then Boldo concludes it with like, yeah, Finucane, how good is he? And everyone's like,
I don't even know who Finau is. I just assumed that Finau was the same guy as Finucane. Is that a different person? I didn't know that. Who the hell's Finau?
Wow. This is how flawed the tears are. He doesn't even know half the team.
Boldo.
This is where the tears bit comes into it.
I'm listening to the car going, did my stream just like skip 30 seconds or something? Like, no, it was just Boldo just playing along. But anyway.
Peachy, great ball to Campbell. He's away. Campbell to the 30-metre line. Now, Colin Best heading to the corner. Gets it back on the inside. Graham, they're over. Nick Graham has scored. 4 minutes into the game.
And it's away. Here they are. Pryor. Can he get it there? Yes, he can. Matt Pryor, an unlikely first try scorer for the Sharks.
Interesting enough that the North Bears are getting that desperate. They're talking about having a Pacific Bears team so they can sort of engulf those Pacific nations and sort of get that ball rolling where they think they can sort of, take on the Cook Islands and the Samoans and the Tongas and sort of make it their team. So PNG's to go for me.
I'm pretty convinced after that. All right, Franco, what do you got?
Mate, can I rebuttal that, or am I giving it a different answer?
Don't have enough arguments on this podcast. Come on,
you're going to throw out cans and they're going to play out again.
Ever. That is the dumbest idea ever.
Townsend now calling the shots with Johnson off. They will go. Gallen, field goal. Paul Gallen, field goal. That is amazing. That is ridiculous. Away. It's back to Smith. Smith gets it away to Cronk. Cronk's got Korobetti with it. Have they got a chance here? Korobetti's put down. The siren sounds. Cronulla have won it. 14 to 12. You can turn the light out now.
For over 50 years, people have come to see the Sharks play. Talent, skill, speed, intelligence, elite level athleticism. that's not these guys. Biased, one-eyed, opinionated, more often wrong than right. They make up for their complete lack of talent with pure dribble, gibberish, and enthusiasm. This is the ET Stand Podcast.
Welcome. Atkinson pulls us out of the fire to make the halves combo with Brayley 3 from 3. The forgotten man in the engine room, and Talakai steamrolls the opposition, sets up a try, but also lets one in. Exciting stuff, and we top it all off with the NRLW team beating the Premiership heavyweights Newcastle to make it 4 from 4 and sit atop the ladder. Welcome to the ET Stand, the Sharks fans podcast where we let our talking do the football. What a great way to cap off the weekend, and I'm sure it would have been a cracker for anyone at the game. Speaking of, we have a couple joining us who did just that. Who isn't joining us is Boldo, whose leg fell off in the round ball game. We'll survive, but if you want to send him some well wishes, we will think about passing them on. This week, Lats takes us through the socials. We grab some opinions from the game and any fallout. Williams gives us a topical history lesson. We preview the upcoming matches against the Dragons. The man who stamps credibility on the league roundup, CK, is back to do it justice. And as always, plenty of shenanigans from our listeners and commenters. Speaking of, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're new, or even if you're not and haven't done so yet, get to it. Spotify listeners, you're welcome to follow and rate the pod as well. Leave us a comment, and if there's any other platform you'd like to see or hear us on, let us know and we'll see what we can do. I kind of named names in the weekly rundown there, so no surprise as to who's here, but with me, it's the A-team. Lats the con man, Williams the pilot, CK the strong man, and don't we all love it when a plan comes together? If you didn't get that reference, you're probably too young, but to be fair, I had to fact check some of that myself. Oh, boys. What a weekend. What have you got for us in the socials, Lats? It was a long week between Tuesday shows, but what felt like an instant between the last game and today, I get the feeling that last few days your socials blew up. What have you got for us, mate?
It's been pretty gung-ho in the socials the last few days. But it's all about Dan Atkinson in the Sharkies socials at the moment, with his ability to ice games in high-pressure situations. We saw him do it through drop goals in Melbourne, then twice over the weekend. Fortunately, the second one was awarded this week, which sealed the victory in Golden Point. He had the ball on a string all afternoon, was creating a real headache for Ponga at the back there with his kicking game, and his running game was equally as good. Quite a few Sharks fans, though, wanting Nico to drop back to fullback amongst the socials this week when he's fit, and to accommodate Atkinson, a starting position for Atkinson in the halves with Trindle. Or if that's not the case, they want to see him picked ahead of Tricky to partner Nico in the halves. So, look, I can't see it personally happening, but possibly a little bench utility role given Beryl's medial injury to his elbow that he picked up over the weekend. But it's a nice little headache for Fitzy to have. It shows the great depth we currently have at the club. There's also been plenty of mentions through the socials over the last few days around Kale Iro and how much we missed him at centre on Sunday. With Ronnie nursing that knee injury, we really missed him coming out of our 20 and getting us out of trouble. He was also missed in defence on that left side, and to his credit, it really goes to show the immense work he's put in and what he does for us week to week. He's grown into a real competitive and competent regular first grader, posting great numbers, and he'll be definitely welcome back into the team this week for Sunday's clash against St. Merge. Our NRLW squad came from behind to steal a lovely little 14-12 victory in a neck-and-neck contest prior to the main game on Sunday. We went into the breakdown 8-6 with the flawless boot of Taylor Preston proving to be the difference. Quincy Dodd opened up our account with a lovely little try, which saw us steal the ball out of the grasp of Tamika Upton to then crash over and score. Tegan Dimmick also crossed for a four-pointer in the 37th minute, with Taylor Preston converting both tries and nailing a penalty goal in the 49th minute to seal the victory. Knight scored 3 tries to our 2, but failed to convert any of them. The win sees the girls stay outright first on 8 points atop the NRLW ladder, with competition favourites and the Roosters nipping at their heels. The girls go on to play the 9th place Dragons at Wynn Stadium at the completion of Sunday's NRL game between us and the Merge. So well done there, ladies. Also on the subject of NRLW, Shark star Emma Tonegado has been nominated for the Veronica White Medal in recognition for her life-changing community work off the field. So be sure to head to the Sharks website, follow the links and vote for Emma. And finally, boys, there's been some extremely salty Newcastle fans through the socials this week after Ponga having that field goal disallowed through a blocker penalty. Even Fitzy came out during the presser stating he doesn't think either of the field goals should have been taken away and can see teams exploiting that rule in the future. However, that is the rule. Annesley came out and strongly defended both calls to penalise in those instances. I must admit I've had an absolute ball baiting the Knights supporters on Facebook over the last few days. It's the gift that keeps on giving, so get amongst it, gents. It is good fun. Here's just a few of my
jabs.
My little warrior.
Love it. Love it, lads. Good stuff, buddy. All right. Well, yes, you mentioned it. On Sunday, capping off a wonderful triple header, we had the NRL Sharks beating the Knights in a Golden Point thriller, 19 points to 18. There was elation, drama, and fallout. Williams, you were at the ground. What was it like?
Stressful. I thought we were gone several times, and just good start, howling southerly. And I did make mention to Lats when they broadcast the coin toss that Newcastle had chosen to run north in the first half. I had a look at the forecast again, and the southerly was due to die down. So Ponga and O'Brien, take my hat off to their ability to read a weather forecast, and that's what it actually did. So we didn't get the benefit in the second half, which is unusual for Shark Park. It's always run that way in the second half. So we did well, 10-0 early, kicking into a breeze that we're rolling through them, and then just simple errors, as you guys spoke a lot about the other night, just simple errors and ill discipline let Newcastle back into the game. And Newcastle weren't particularly good for large parts, but they did enough. They held the ball and converted their chances. Although their first try was dubious. Watching live, thought they just brushed over the contest from the high ball. That was like, oh, we'll play on. And we're like, hang on, one look. What? It's been set up as a no try. I can't see how that's not a knock on, even with my Sharks glasses off. And then they said that he rolled the ball onto the try line. I think that's an incorrect terminology there. I think it was a try at that point. But if you're rolling the ball, you're probably either promoting the ball or you don't have control of it. So that caused some frustration at the ground. Second half, I thought we were gone until obviously Ronaldo got that try. Blake was sitting and kind of tempered our expectations, thinking he didn't get this down. He's put his elbow out. Thankfully, the ball got down a thousandth of a second before the elbow touched the line. And Atkinson's conversion, that was absolutely clutch. Talking about back to Latz's point on the blockers, there was a clickbait article in Fox Sports today talking about how O'Brien and Fitzgibbon were in agreement that they should have been field goals. Fitzy actually, if you listen to that overall, changes his tune, or not quite changes his tune, but he qualifies it. He goes, look, you can't have blockers there. No one was impeded. So he said that players are going to run in and milk it. So you can see what the NRL were doing there. Probably stealing some of your thunder, guys, but guys running through, you can't have players in front of the ball. Simple as that. I know it's a different interpretation to initially with the blockers. They said if they can accept a pass and they're allowed to be there, they can't be in front of the ruck. That's essentially downtown anyway. So that's a penalty no matter where you are in the field. But I think if you get rid of everyone in front of the kicker, then that stops the ability to what's called milk penalties. So he said, look, we lost 2 semi-finals in the last 2 years because of it. So therefore, he just talked out loud, thinking out loud, was like, you know what? I'm a fan of the rule. I don't have an alternative. Let's run with this for a while. So, and he did qualify it as well in the post-match press conference as well, talking about Newcastle giving away a penalty. And then we did the exact same thing 2 minutes later. And he said that Atkinson had overcalled and went earlier in the set than expected. So he said that the blockers weren't at fault there. I know we were blowing up at the time going, come on, guys, you saw the other team do it, and then we're given a penalty 2 seconds later, but they did it to perfection in the one that mattered in Golden Point.
Yeah, so I saw on a couple of photos and social videos and things, there was new visuals on the screen there, Williams, for the team song. How did that look? That looked pretty good from what I could see.
Looked good, looked professional. I didn't actually pay too much attention on it. I had a kid on my shoulders and was looking around at the, I suppose, all the fun and frivolity and festivity rather than the actual screen itself. But from what I briefly saw, it looked good. A bit of a new addition from the media team down there. So good play by them I believe I didn't actually see whether it was hits you, fits you, depends on you, but I believe it was named the Sharks fits you. It was confirmed by ET on the Sterlo show on Fox Sports back in 2016, actually, when they said, "Hey, what is the line?" And ET solved it for everyone and said fits you. So there you go.
It looked pretty good, and I think it's worth mentioning. Sharks have come out with a few high quality looking videos. I think they're really starting to hit their straps there from a marketing standpoint or just a social standpoint. Not sure whose department it is, but they're doing a good job. Lats, you kind of touched on it there. We get a reprieve this week, spoilers, but did you want to try and unpack your feelings around the Iro and Talakai debate? Do you have a preference? Are you still fence sitting?
Mate, I'm leaning towards Iro after this week. I just found him. I don't know. We needed him there, bringing it up out of our half. Ronnie was on half a leg. He copped a knock there later on as well, which slowed him up a bit. And I was a bit worried there that he might go off, and he ended up scoring the match-winning try, apart from the obvious field goal. But yeah, mate, definitely. I'm leaning more maybe Teague to the bench, Talakai to the second row, and Iro to the centres for mine. Especially with Teague coming back from that injury, just bring him back in slowly, and that's where I think we'll get the most out of all of them.
I think it's case closed on the Iro versus Talakai front in the centres. Has to be Iro. Unfortunately, Talakai did. I know you guys qualified and gave him 1 point, and I agreed that early on I thought, gee, he looks good, and then he was found out and looked a bit gassed, especially the Gagai try just got found out there, and Iro had so much. Just the last 2 weeks, Iro has really developed out of sight and started to show the potential. I think we're reaping the rewards now of getting that consistency. He's actually looking like a threat and attack. He's passing. So, yeah, I think it's case closed there. I did get a message from a member of another podcast, shout out to Dan, who was raging, saying that he was going to jump on the show and said, surely it's case closed. And then he said, actually, he'll back out because he'll save it for his show because he didn't want to influence anything else. But there you go, spoiler alert, if you listen to Fins Up as well, all they're going to talk about is Iro. So maybe listen to us for a bit of variety. We love you, Dan and Terry. So, yeah.
They all they talked about was Iro before he got in the team, so no surprises there.
Yes, exactly.
I'm going to leave the door ajar. Mitigating circumstances, but I definitely think Iro has the spot for now.
I haven't seen the run sheet, Franco, so I'm taking over for a second. I'm interrupting. I can hear Boldo fretting from here that I'm stepping over the host. But are we going to talk about Atkinson?
Read the notes.
Yeah, exactly. Read the notes. I'm just going to fire from the hip. Are we talking about the single half Atkinson thing? Because I think that proved that experiment needs to be over as well on the weekend. I thought we looked devoid of options in attack. Atkinson is absolutely clutch with his conversions and the field goal. But some of his kicks, you need a second kicking option. You need two halves. Just because we won 44-0 on the Gold Coast and we beat Melbourne in a bit of a kind of a hit and run mission down in Melbourne, it's not going to work in the big games. You need two attacking options. You need two kicking options. And I think Newcastle really found Atkinson out on the last with kick pressure.
Well, here's a question for you then, William, since you're starting to open the can of worms. Couldn't Brayley be that second kicking option if you put his kicking boots on?
Absolutely.
Then you've got a second kicking option. Solves the problem.
The only thing, though, is he kicking from dummy half? Because kicking from dummy half is... when we were getting dominated in that period where we, I suppose, let's say Panthers game when we were flat and we were absolutely diabolical against Parramatta and other games where we just looked completely gassed and out of it. Plenty of opportunities. I was at several of those games live. Kick from dummy half on the third or fourth and turn the other team around. There's plenty of open space. Brayley showed that he could do it. He showed it back in 2021, 2020, that he could, and he hasn't shown it since. So I don't know. Is he an option? I'm not sure. Maybe he's not.
So, well, we'll see. I guess. Worried about Boldo and retributions from him. We've got Luke kicking in, saying it's only a leg, Boldo. Man up, you have another one. And Ashley Williams kicks in and says, "Eat some cement, Boldo." So there's no problems with him. All right. We may, spoilers, Williams, get on to a little bit more of Atkinson in a minute. But for the moment, CK, 54 minutes, 17 hit-ups, 160 running meters, 6 offloads, and 27 tackles for 1 miss. He doesn't get much love, but Kafusi is starting to get noticed. The coach loves him, and you were one of the first to get behind him in our contract video. What's your thoughts on his game, and how is he travelling?
Yeah, well, after 1,000 beers on Sunday and joining you to help you out on the post show, I sort of went back and remembered that Kafusi had a massive game. You're going through other social pages and he's making team of the week across the NRL, and he didn't even get a mention from us except for, he went pretty well and he was much improved. So, I have said along the whole season he does just goes along quietly, does his job, does his thing, doesn't go much noticed around the league, but I think people start to take notice as him as a solid option at prop there. So went through some big meters, was a difference, wasn't a blocker. So I thought he did his job really well.
Yeah, brilliant.
Live, he was very good. I'm sure Lats can attest that especially his first stint, he was just every carry was 10, 15 meters. He was hitting hard in defence. He's just doing his job, and so was Toby as well. So hats off to Toby. I know he's got a lot of stick, but he's turned a corner.
And it's not the fact that he's out there like, a Fanua Blake playing big minutes and scoring tries and things like that. Where he scored tries, he's not getting the fanfare like Tommy does, scoring tries left, right and centre and skipping across field. But he's no Sharon Woods. He's not out there making mistakes. He's not making captain challenges. He's not dropping the ball. He's not making silly mistakes. There might have been a bit of a blip. And like I said, the young Zach was out there swearing his name out at the Bulldogs match where he had a bit of an off game. But most of the forwards did in that game, the blame got spread around in that game to most of the forward pack. But every other game he's played in, there's no mistake football in there. So credit to him, and maybe we should take a little bit more notice.
He had some offload opportunities too. There's a couple of times where there was no one trailing him. There was twice in the middle of the ruck. He was just pop. We need a fullback or Brayley backing up off just backing him up. Would have been straight through. Both of them would have been clean offloads. And to Oregon's credit, he just went, I'll tuck it under the arm because no one's there. But it would have been a clear-cut line break.
Yeah, I'm sure all the Sharks fans, if you cast him memories back, and Williams will attest to this, a guy called Cuthbertson who used to just look for the offload left, right and centre and just throw it to anywhere and hope that it lands in someone's hands. You look at someone like Bryce Cartwright for Para, who still always looks for the offload, and most of the time it finds the ground or out in touch or causes the mistake. He's smart enough. There was one there, Williams, you're right. I remember early on in the game, he had it was in the second half, he had 3 players on him. He was over the 40 and he looked for it and he had his arm free and no one was there. And he went, you know what, I'm not going to force this. I'm just going to take the tackle and go from there. So, yeah, big time.
Ramian would have passed that all day.
Yeah. Lomax would have chucked a flick pass across the field. And
Even, dare I say, McInnes did one as well, didn't he? I think when we were on the attack in the first half, just the no-look flick out the back to no one.
Yep.
Didn't Burns' little flick pass do well, though? That was all right. But no, I thought Kafusi's offloads were really good. They were targeted. They had some pace on them, had some distance. It wasn't a little dribble out the back. So they were late and they were effective. So they were really good. Now, Williams couldn't wait 3 minutes, but here we go. Williams, CK threw the grenade out there on the debrief video. What do we do with Atkinson when we're all healthy?
I think he's 18th man. As good as he is, I think he find a spot on the bench for him, but it's hard. Or is he 18th man and you break open in case of emergency, in case you lose Trindle or Hines? Having said that, like Hines untested, they reckon he's a few weeks away. Yeah, he's looking good and fit and out of his boot and that the other night. And Trindle hamstrings are funny things you don't want to do a Brett Kamali 2006-ish, I think it was.
Or a Boldo.
Or a Boldo. Yeah, you're right. But we don't want... I don't know. So I thought Trindle was man the match against Souths, and I thought he really dominated the second half. I think Trindle is a better half, but I think Atkinson is an exceptional replacement. I think if they're fit, he is the backup.
Yeah, I think so, unfortunately. As good as he is, and as many people on the socials lats say that he should push Hines to fullback, can't see that happening. All right. In another example of why this is a stupid rule, we've been banging on this one a little bit. Lats, The disruptor only seems to count if the ball is dropped. I heard it was
Correct.
even more obvious down there at the grounds that disruptors just getting let
Yep.
go
Yep.
because the fullback managed to catch the ball or the winger.
Yeah, it's
Unleash,
quite
buddy.
annoying, mate. It's quite annoying the way these rules get changed and how they seem to, grow legs and go in different directions as the season goes on. We seem to have these little periods where we knuckle down on these rules and then we're like, oh, hang on, we'll tweak it. It just leaves everyone confused. The disruptor rule, if it's a rule, play the rule. It has to come into effect, whether they catch the ball or not. Give the team that leg up if there is a disruptor and they are good enough to catch the ball, give them a penalty. Let them get down the field a bit better. Like, I don't know. It's just all these interpretive rules are rubbish. Absolute
It was completely
rubbish.
cynical at the ground. There's, Shark had a glass on again, but it was prominent in the first half because Newcastle was attacking with the wind, and they were putting some big bombs up, and it was just flying through, and no eyes for the ball. We're not talking the Jesse Raymond against the Titans where Blocker was saying he's not looking at the ball while for once Jesse's eyes were actually on the ball the entire time. Probably the only time in his career. Love you, Jesse, but Blocker extraordinaire. But
It's just frustrating, mate.
Sorry,
it's interesting because the rule
but,
was to come out. It's kind of like a balking rule for any other sport, or when we used to play handball as primary school kids, like you couldn't wave your arms around and put the player off. But it seems like you're right. The ones on the weekend, and I've seen in a few other games, like players literally flying. There might be a metre space between the fullback and they fly past in the air and sort of land. But that's still a disruptor because they're coming in your line of sight. You're hearing the footsteps.
Correct.
You're hearing someone jump. You're hearing the wind whoosh past you. And all of a sudden you're just like, oh, well, what was that? The rule's just gone back in the back pocket and all of a sudden we've got the new one in that we've exposed the blockers. So, it's flavour of the month.
The key thing out the disruptor thing that I got out of the Dan and Kemp podcast a month or two ago, which has Andrew Webster, Andrew Johns, who else was on there? Cameron Smith. It's like a who's
not as good as our group.
This close second. Yeah. Yeah, let's say there's less off-field indiscretions that have been played out over the media than, I don't know, sin bins and the like. Or missing grand finals if you're going to go Cameron Smith 2008 style. But and they're all saying, they're like, how can you know a player's intent? It's intent based, right? They're saying, oh, he wasn't planning on catching the ball. How do you know that? It's just like everything in league, it's difficult. There's subjectivity. So
overcomplicated.
Overcomplicated. It's like, I think that no contact for guys in the air, things like that's fine, but I don't like that protects the fullback. If there's contact, high contact, in the air contact, that protects the fullback. But this disruptor thing, I know someone else in SEN, I think Julian King, was going, oh, but if you lose your fullback, you'll be a fan of the disruptor rule. It's like, no, there's foul play penalties for that. Or if it's a good bomb and you just wait for him to catch it, he lands at 2 feet and you absolutely smash him. That's just a good play and that's legal. That's nothing to do with the disruptor.
And that was the other one I'm going to say with the disruptor is it's kind of now in the realms of the halfback. When the halfback's kicking, you can't touch him, you can't push him, you can only just lay him down with a pillow. It's kind of like the quarterback in the NFL now. You can't hit him in a way that's detrimental. And it's kind of like the fullbacks now. You have to let them land. There's no disrupting them to put them off their game. You can't stand under and yell. I'm sure, I don't know, maybe no one's tried it yet. Stand under and yell at them and say some disparaging remarks, but you can't whoosh past them. You can't jump up to make it look like a contest. You can't sort of strip it in the air. It's got to be clean. And I thought the best one was the example when we played the Gold Coast and Ramian, and it was play on for a try, because I've been annoyed for a number of years where the winger or fullback jumps up, they go 3 feet forward, land on the shoulders AFL style onto the opposition, and because they land in a dangerous position and spill their lollies, all of a sudden it's a penalty, but they've put themselves in that position. So, it's bizarre. I don't know. I'm not on the bandwagon of the rest of the commentary where they're all saying, what happens in the finals and the grand final and things like that. It's not all doomsday because we all know in the finals, the rule books just go out the window like Origin does. So I don't think we're going to see some glaring ones that are going to side the game, but it's a bit strange. And same as the Downtown. The Downtown was the new one they brought in this season. And I saw one on the weekend, and I haven't seen one in a long, long time. So weird, just weird. But we'll go into it. More rules.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ridiculous, I agree. CK, you're on a bit of a tear right now. Can you understand the uproar over Crossland being sent? Seemed pretty obvious to me.
Yeah, I'm like Williams. I listened to a bit of Bloke in the Bar with Den and Kemp, and it had the Guru on there and one of the other guys that do their social media stuff. And they sort of turned Den and Kemp around the other way, saying, well, we know teams do it. And then he sort of backtracked and said, well, if this is the norm, the line in the sand, and, I'm happy for a team to do it, because you go back and watch it, it was beyond obvious what he was doing. Like, we were on the attack. We had one tackle left where something could have happened. Maybe a try. We weren't in a try-scoring situation, but we're obviously 3 meters out from their line. There was 10 seconds left. The tackle was completed. Crossland then dove on top like a flop and then wrapped his arms around and then applied pressure. So I don't think the referee had any choice except for Simbi. I know Adam O'Brien was blowing up saying, well, when he had 3 indiscretions, we should have had a bit more leeway in that. But it was that obvious he was trying to end the half. Like, it was beyond silly.
He was warned plays earlier as well.
Yeah. So I think it was a great call.
I feel as though if he had made the tackle or been a part of the tackle and just held on too long, it's a different discussion.
Correct.
But because of the flop, it just exacerbated the situation and made it more obvious intent. Williams' new favourite word. And so 10 in the bin, no question.
It was a flop and then a regrip and then a try to apply pressure. So it wasn't just he just dove in there as a third man high march style. It was intentional to run those 5 seconds off the clock.
Yeah, exactly. Well, since we're on it, refs and decision makers, there were a few field goal attempts and a few blocking penalties in the process. Who wants to unpack this? Kelly, do you want to keep going, or do we give someone else a go?
I'll keep going, and then we can get the view from the ground for us guys. So the most interesting now coming out of this is Will Kennedy was about 2 meters offside on Newcastle's first attempt, where we were penalised for a blocking penalty. But the most interesting point was Kalen Ponga actually missed the field goal. So they had one wiped off. He actually missed it to the side and missed a field goal attempt. So
I confirmed that today. I watched the rerun.
He watched the replay
and I paused it, and the ball was outside the stick.
Yeah, so it's come outside. So they actually did captains challenge that. And interestingly enough, that they didn't even check Kennedy, which is, we'll go into it later, I think later in the discussion. I've got a bit of referee talk around the league, but there was one on the Thursday night in the blockbuster with Penrith and Melbourne where Penrith challenged Pappenhausen's short 20 kick, and Howarth, who was on opposite side of the field, was called for in front of the kicker. So they were able to change that call, but yeah, Kennedy was the 1 or 2 steps offside. And we've seen before in field goals, I guarantee there's been games decided by field goals where you could have called 2 or 3 plays at least offside. We've seen many games where blokes have rushed. They know it's coming. We as fans know it's coming. The coaching staff know it's coming. The referee knows it's coming. So the players certainly know a field goal is coming. I think the hardest part now they're discussing about the blockers, and this came out of obviously people trying to work out how Penrith were doing such a good job Cleary's kicking game, and it found out that a few of their players were playing the blocking role off the kicks. Isaiah Yeo was pretty good at it, but he was just pretending he wasn't there. So it came out of that sort of scenario. They wanted to clamp down on it. Look, in both instances, I don't think either were a block. You could argue that Kennedy got straight through and he was offside and got straight through and didn't get blocked. None of our other guys really had an attempt at it. Ponga obviously played for a penalty in our one. So credit to him, and he was gotten up laughing and cheering like he won the game. But if you have a look at Royce Hunt, he actually turned sideways, and Ponga actually missed him and ran through him and stopped and blew up the referee and milked it. So, again, Ainsley's put the rod in his back and said, no, it was all right, it's all sweet, the game's normal. But I think when, the rest of the league, the players, the commentators, the ex-players, the coaches are all blowing up, maybe you should start listening.
Williams, did you want to say something to this?
Yeah, it set a new precedent. So that's what I suppose Fitzgibbon's confusion was. O'Brien was just sour grapes. His season's gone. Maybe his job's gone. I can see why he was so upset with everything to do with it. Fitzgibbon was like, yeah, I mean, back in the day, there've always been field goals. The way they explained it was, hey, if you're in a position to catch a pass, then therefore you're fine. So no downtowns, but don't move. But then, as he said too, you're just going to get teams that they've already been milking it. They're just going to keep milking it. So his view, as I said, talking out loud, was just okay, cool, do it. Give this a try for a while. You could probably argue that I think I heard on the radio say that every field goal that's ever been a field goal is technically a blocker now. But the frustrating thing with the NRL is they didn't communicate that. So they've got a new decision. Annesley goes, "This is legit." I agree with it. I think it's a good plan. Fitzgibbon agrees with it. He said, "Look, we rightly so. We lost 2 field goals, especially against the Roosters." To it, and talking about offside, good golly, Tedesco and Keary can cover 10 meters in 0.5 of a second. Yeah, don't think so. Or greater, 20, 30 meters. So, yeah, I think it's worth a go. I think it'll even things out. Similar to a penalty shootout, you're always trying to find in soccer analogy here, trying to find something that can even it up a bit in favour of the goalkeeper. This favours it or evens up a bit more in favour of the defensive side. If you're fast enough to get there and block it, good luck to you. And stops the Pongers, dare I say it, the Moses, the Clearys, the Yos of the world that will just go straight. They'll beeline. They'll run out of their way to get taken out and get a penalty and go back downfield and kick it themselves. And that's an ugly look. That's a sour taste. And I was at the Bulldogs game and I thought, you know what? That's Nico missed it from point blank range and what's his name? Burton was just, he could have kicked one from 60 that night. He was just latching onto them. When he got that, I was like, yep, fair play, better. The other night, maybe Sharks colours on, Shark colour glasses on, but like, no, Crosland, we put some good pressure on and he sliced it. Ponga missed his as well. And then Atkinson got it and showed his composure and all the rest. I was like, yeah, no, we deserved that one. Once we got back into it, I was like, we actually deserved to finish that the way we did.
Well, there's a good example is Burton in the Bulldogs. You said he was slotting from everywhere. He was 40, 50 metres out. But he's way set back behind. Like, he's the last guy. The ball's getting thrown back. That means his 12 teammates are technically blockers. Like, the way they're trying to explain the rule this week is that means that all those guys in front of him are technically... we have to run through the whole team to get there. And that's what's everyone confusing. I understand the ones where, it's a long season. We're up to round 25 and people forget. But there have been calls earlier this season in Golden Point and if not field goal situations where blokes have actually actively been blockers. Like, they've actually moved their body in front of guys chasing through and they've been penalised before. So I think that's what's the most confusing.
Key bit, I suppose, overcomplicating again, but if it's similar to the obstruction rule, if you are between, dummy half and the player, there can be no one between that. Outside of those lines, you can have as many players as you like, and you'll probably see teams having flying Vs and little formations like that. But if that's how it is, if you have some nous go, okay, there's Burton, he's 20 metres back, he's the guy, they're 40, 50 metres out, he's the only guy that can kick from there, he's the guy we've got to defend. And then I suppose it maybe opens it up too if they spin face pass instead of deep pass, and then all of a sudden they've got an ability to put a try scoring play on, similar to how we went down the right with Qatar. Then that might actually make the game a bit more exciting as well. So got to look at the opportunities. But the NRL, are they smart enough to do that? No. Anyway, just my cynicism.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Well, talking field goals, this is probably no better time than to segue into William's history lesson. What have you got for us, mate?
Do you want me to do slides or
I can bring them up.
I suppose add to the stage. I've got a bit of an intro for you. So Golden Point. I was thinking, how can I do this? Do I do our top 5 Golden Point wins? Do I talk about streaks? Do I do all this stuff? Like, no. This is a living history. I don't want to put any mocks on it and go, hey, these are our best top 5 wins. And then in Golden Point, then we have a Golden Point final that we lose and we go, that or we win, and that becomes the best one. So just some quick stats for us. We have had 24 Golden Point matches since Golden Point became a thing in 2003. We had our first match in Golden Point in 2004. I know Kelly was there, so I'll throw to him. Who was that against and where? And who scored the winning points?
Which one was this one? What do we got?
The very first Golden Point game that the Sharks had and won.
If this I say Parramatta, Nigel Vunganar.
Parramatta, Nigel Vunganar in 2000.
I think there's some stains on my wife's scarf from Lats and Boldo grabbing it and wiping their ass.
We're going to that.
Sorry, Lats, you were there too. So that was our first our first trip to Golden Point, and we had a very happy return. Shortly afterwards, later that season, we played the Broncos at home. We came back from 12-0 down to tie it up and send it to Golden Point. And then, unfortunately, Sean Berrigan ran the length of the field to break our hearts in the second half of Golden Point there. So not a good start at Shark Park. So our overall record out of 24 matches is 11 wins, 11 losses, and 2 draws. So a bit of trivia for you. 1 draw we know ended the streak in 2016, which I reckon I'd say that is the pick of the draws. Probably the best. Like, it was a really good contest against the Gold Coast up at Rabina in 2016. Do you guys remember when the other one was? Draw.
Jeez. No.
All good if you don't. All good if you don't, because it's going to be in this little list here. So that segues into why I've got wins asterisks. So at Shark Park, we have played a total of 12 Golden Point games, so half of them. We've had 4 wins, 1 draw, and 7 losses. So not a happy hunting ground, but away from home, we've got the reverse of that. So pretty good. We'll do it another time, the top Golden Point wins we've had away, but at home, not great. As in regards to a competition record, so the Bulldogs have the best win percentage in Golden Point. They've had 16 matches, 12 wins, 1 draw, 3 losses, while the team that has played the most Golden Point matches are the Cowboys. They've had 26 in total with 14 wins, including a few against us, unfortunately, and 2022 is one of them, 1 draw and 11 losses, while the Warriors are also up there with 25. Looking at big clubs, I was looking at the Roosters form. They've only had 14 Golden Point wins, so I'm going to throw the speculator here and say that they've got the referees in their pocket and they get the cheeky penalty with about 2 minutes to go to finish the game off without going to Golden Point. But they've had 14. Sorry there, Chris. 14 matches, 7 wins, 2 draws, 5 losses. And the Storm, they've had 18 matches, 10 wins, 2 draws, 6 losses. So anyway, that's Golden Point. Love it or hate it or everything in between. It is a thing. It's part of the game. It's been here for 21 years now. So here's our record of wins or otherwise at Shark Park in chronological order. So 2005, here we are.
I love
Who's
this
that
one.
guy?
I love this one.
Who's this guy? Kelly?
I
was the
know
winning
who it is,
try?
'cause I was at the game. This was a great one.
Who?
He wasn't
Yeah,
seen much after this, but
no, he wasn't. Anyway, it was the great Vince Mellars with a try running down the western touchline to score in the northwestern corner in Golden Point in 2005 against the Knights. And I was going to segueing all over the shop here, so sorry for the rambling nature of this one. But we've played the Knights 3 times in Golden Point now, and we have a 100% success rate. So the first time we played him was 05. This is actually our first Golden Point win at Shark Park, 30 points to 26. Against a team that ended up winning the Wooden Spoon that year, the Knights. Joey Johns was out for half the season, but he was here for this one. And this was a real seesawing affair. The halves pairing was actually Dykes and Kamali. We had Nathan Merritt in the back line scoring 2 tries, kicking 3 from 5. Vince Mellars got a try in regular time. Then he scored the winning try. I think it was Adam Dykes that skipped across the field through a cutout pass and put him down the left touch line after we looked like it was setting for a field goal. It was one of the great Shark Park moments. And I think Vince Mellars, I remember seeing him. I was there live and then watching the replay on, I think, the old scratchy dial-up they used to have when the NRL would upload it a few days later. And he was interviewed and said, I'm never going to watch that again. I just want it to stay in my memory as is. So Mellars double, Merritt double, Peachy and Michael Sullivan the tries. Merritt with 3 from 5, while for the Knights, Joey Johns kicked 5 from 6 to keep him in it. 2 tries to Steve Simpson and other tries to Brad Tighe and some guy whose last name's Salkeld. Never heard of him. Anyway, it wasn't a great Knights team. Vince Mellars for us, just a quick segue onto his career. So for the Sharks, he played a total of 5 matches, and they were his only 2 tries for us. He played for the Warriors prior to that, was highly regarded, and then he went to the Roosters and played for them 12 matches, 3 tries in 2006 before disappearing to play over in England. On to the next one. So here's the draw I was talking about. 14-all versus the Roosters on a Monday night in 2012. Todd Carney had a shot for field goal from 50 metres out and just missed. But that one was a bit of a slog fest. We were mid-season, bit of a slump, and the Roosters weren't exactly particularly fancied. Obviously, they would win the comp the following year, but not the great Roosters team at that point in time. And extra time, there was really no clear-cut opportunities. Teams were taking shots from about 40 metres out and not getting success. So that was a dour 14-all draw, but not a loss. Then we move it to 2016, and obviously the famous 19-18 win as part of the streak with James Maloney with the ugliest field goal you'll ever see. I think he was half slipping over and it just snuck in to win in the second period of extra time, 19-18 over the Warriors. Moving right along, this one was a recent favourite of ours, including everyone's favourite commentator, Dan Ganane, talking about how much Souths were robbed. I think it was George or Tom Burgess getting sent off after taking Ronaldo's head off right in front of where we were sitting. Penalty goes downfield, and Nico kicking the field goal after Latrell had only just missed 2 or 3 shots from, similar to Matt Burton, like 40 metres out. He was kicking absolute bombs and unfortunately just missed. Oh, fortunately for us, but unfortunately for South. And then and Fafita scoring probably close to the final try of his career for the Sharks with a grand final-esque run. And then obviously the weekend with Atco icing at 19 points to 18. So that is the history of Golden Point results at Shark Park in our favour.
Very good, man.
Great.
Very good. I like it.
Good job, mate.
I mean, winning a Golden Point is always great, right? So it's hard to say any of them's bad. There's just a lot of emotion involved in that, and I suppose that's why it's so controversial. When you're a losing side, you blow up, but when you're a winner, it's good stuff. Good stuff. I think it's awesome. Well, we've got here, Luke kicks in from one of your earlier comments, Williams. He says, nothing better than a big hit as soon as a player's foot hits the ground after jumping for a catch.
Absolutely.
All over it. And then Harley comes in here, just, I'm guessing, loves the field goal by James Maloney and then the field goal from Nico Hines. So that's the 2 favourites there.
Yeah.
All righty.
We will do a top 5, I suppose, Golden Point wins at some stage. Some of my favourites include the Brett Seymour one at Parramatta in 2007. Obviously, the Nigel Vangana try in 04 at Parramatta. Some other big ones too, which we'll cover at a later date.
Going through them and still make you a bit nervous, rethinking them and reliving those couple of last 5 or 10 minutes.
I can quickly rattle a few off just to keep. Sorry, Franco, as I hijack things. I'll bring back the slide that I had. Where are we? Hang on a sec. So, looking at it in chronological order so we lost to the Broncos. We beat the Knights. Obviously, we lost the Tigers at Campbelltown. That was a penalty goal that was controversial. We lost the Roosters at home to an Anthony Minicello field goal. Then we beat the Dragons. That was one of the great ones. Jason Rolls giving away possession or giving away penalty with the ball out at Homebush, and Luke Cavell kicking it from about 45 metres. Funnily enough, we've lost to the Panthers at home twice, 21-20 in Golden Point, first in 2008, the next in 2012. We beat the Cowboys in North Queensland in 2010 in a great 20 points to 19 win. Came from nowhere, 18-0 down. I think it was field goals to John Morris and Trent Barrett on that night. Both of them were pretty ordinary, but they got the job done. Losing the Tigers again, round 1 at Leichhardt in 2012. That was pretty devastating. That was a pretty controversial, actually. We got the ball back from the kickoff. I think Todd Carney hit the crossbar and we regathered. And then there was a controversial penalty from a charge down. I think Chris Heinington playing for the Tigers got them that one, and then it was Bryce Gibbs with a charge down on Benji Marshall's field goal attempt that went through the post. So that was a gnarly one. The 14-all draw to the Roosters, 21-20 lost to the Panthers in 2012, beating the Knights 21-20. That was the other one I was going to talk about. So we beat the Knights 21-20 in 2013. Paul Gallen out the first minute with a knee injury, ruined everyone's fantasy teams, and we were down by a bit. We worked our way back into it, and Jeff Robson with a great field goal in extra time to turn our season around right when all the Asada stuff was getting to us and we were on a losing streak. 20 points to 19 in late 2014 against the Cowboys. Ironically, if that game happened today, Daniel Holdsworth kicked probably the biggest field goal in Sharks history. It was about 48 metres out. Would have been a 2-point field goal to win 20 points to 19, but wasn't a thing. We beat the Gold Coast 23-22 in 2015. Then we beat the Raiders the following week. Actually, it was a few weeks later, 21-20. That was the one where Ricky was having a press conference and the Sharks started up Cronulla and drowned him out just to make him look even angrier than he normally does. 19-18 against the Warriors in 2016, 18-all against the Titans in 2016, 33-32 against Manly at home in 2018 that was a doozy. 15-14 in the last game at Shark Park before we disappeared. At the time, I feared forever in probably the most Cronulla game of all time. Lose on goal kicking. Chad Townsend kicked 2 field goals, but Aiden Caesar kicked 3. for the Paul Gallen farewell game as well. 13-12 at Netstrata Jubilee. Horrible, technically our home ground. Chad Townsend with the field goal in his final game for Cronulla, winning that one before he was dropped and moved on to the Warriors and the Cowboys and the Roosters. Then who knows where. 21-20 in 2022 against the Bunnies. 32-30 against the Cowboys at home later that year. We won't talk any more about that. 15-14 against the Bulldogs, and then the weekend. So, yeah, that's Golden Point.
Didn't want to save any for next time, mate.
Nah, the crowd can
get them all
the
out.
crowd
Get
can,
them all off your chest, mate.
We don't need to cover that again now. We're done. No more Golden Point elation or horror. Done.
You didn't throw the semi-finals in there.
I mentioned the Cowboys one, but yeah.
We won't talk about it.
Nah.
Please don't. Please don't. All right. On Sunday at 4:00 down in Wollongong, the 4th place Sharks take on the 8th place Dragons, both fighting to keep their respective spots on the ladder. So there's plenty to play for. CK, do you want to take us through the teams?
Yeah, so obviously the teams, there's a couple of changes out there. So Will Kennedy is at fullback. Stone Street comes in for Katoa. Jesse Ramian and Iro is back in the centre with Ronnie retaining his wing spot. Atkinson at 6. Trindle's come back in at 7. Toby at 8. 9 Brayley. 10 Big Kafusi. 11 Nickera. 12 Wilton back. And Cam McGuinness at lock 13. Our big bench of Williams, Hunt, Hamanueli and Hazelton coming off the bench. So we're going back to the big bench rotation that we found successful, missing Talakai. For those asking, he had a bit of a calf strain. And interestingly enough, Sione Katoa is out with a head knock for the one for Knights fans. He wasn't laying down. He's now in concussion protocols. So where we should have been issued a penalty and possibly won the game from there, he's now out with a concussion. So they're our 2 outs at the moment. Nico, like we've all talked about, is getting closer and closer, but I don't think Fitzy wants to risk it at this stage, getting closer to the final. So Williams 2.0 jumps in with return of Go Street. Watch out. Yeah, mate, I think he's proven to be a really good, handy replacement for our guys that go down. His speed's electric. He's pretty good defensively. So again, it's one of those, we've got depth and what do we do? But good to see he's a great replacement for Sione Katoa.
Yeah. Does he have a better side there, Williams 2.0? Is he better on Katoa's side or on Ronaldo's side? What do you reckon, CK?
Yeah, well, most of the time he does play the left side. So, but he's got speed to burn. He's not really going to worry. Obviously, his debut match he played on the right, so I'm not too worried about that. I think he's quite a handy replacement. Again, we've got depth, so I'm glad we're not sort of, if Hines was back, we're not trying to experiment of Atkinson, jam him in and put him at the 2. And like we've spoken earlier with Euro back, I think it really solidifies that back end. The Dragons like to still play that slow end block pay out to Lomax and Figai on their wings. They've got Tuvalu out there as well. So, that's where they sort of play. So the Dragons come in with Terrell Sloan at 1, Lomax, the 2 Figai brothers in the centres and Tuvalu in the wing. Jack Burdish has been playing 6, Ben Hunt at 7, Francis Molo, Jacob Little, Jack DeBelland, Luciano Lua, Jaden Sewer, and Tom Eisenhuth. They got the double coachmans coming off the bench, Blake Laurie and Fatella Mariner, with one Shane Flanagan as the coach.
So, Lats, you like giving a bit of stick. Flano came out and said he doesn't know what the next round is. Hey, he's in it again? His old favourite team? What do you reckon?
Yeah, mate. He's just trying to keep the heat off his own team. I think they're a stronger team without his son in it, though. So it's we'll have to be wary of that. Bloody pretender of an NRL player he is. But look, mate, I'll tell you what. I rewatched the game today from last week against the Knights, and I didn't realise. I thought Tommy Hazelton had the same flu that Iro had. Turns out he had a food poisoning event, so maybe we could have played him on the wing. Who knows how much weight he's lost in the last sort of 4 or 5 days. But look, it's good we've gone for the big heavy bench again. I love to see it. Happy with Rudolph starting. I thought he's brought some great intensity in the last few weeks and really pulled his socks up. happy to have Hero back. Ronnie, I was surprised to see him in there. I thought getting that knock late in the second half, I thought we might have rested him, but with Katoa out, we weren't able to do so, I assume. And mate, I think we'll win. I think we'll win comfortably. And and it's just a little shout out to my mum. It's her birthday on Sunday, and she hates the Dragons. So a nice 13+ win there would be great. So happy birthday, Mama Lats.
What a legend.
Williams, the rivalry versus the Dragons, or in this case, the Dargans.
Well, when you say Dragons, I'm going to say the St. George Illawarra Dragons, because both clubs ceased to exist at the end of 1998. And all you Dragons fans, I know I said this last time,
Correct.
but your club is dead. And your bigger brother, the dominant shareholder at the Illawarra team, and if the NRL had some just guts, would just turn around and call them the Illawarra Dragons, or even better, the Illawarra Steelers. But no, we do need the Dragons to still remain. The rivalries there. But when it comes to since 1999, when the current club in its current existence came into being, 53 total matches, the Sharks lead that again. We led it early. We then trailed for a while. We're back on don't want to say the term streak, a run of consecutive results. Sharks 29, Dragons 23. One draw. That was in 2001. The Wayne Bartram being ironed out by Chris Beattie match at Aussie Stadium that we'll cover at a later date. But looking at recent matches, the Sharks actually are on a streak. We've won the last 8. The last time we lost to the Dragons was during COVID, very early in the reboot of that season, but it was June 14, 2020. We lost 30 points to 16 at Campbelltown, of all places. And then prior to that, losing down in, I believe it was Wollongong, 40 points to 20 in early 2018 when Matt Duffy absolutely carved up. We will actually look at the history at Wynn Stadium, because that includes the dominant partner of the joint venture being Illawarra. And unfortunately, we don't have a great record there in that we lost 10 matches in a row there between 1990 and 2012. And this week's Chronicles episode, which we'll record tomorrow night, it covers the drought-breaking win there in 2013 where Fafita scored in the last minute to seal that one. So we don't have a great record there in that it is a total of 23 matches, 7 wins to the opposition and 15 losses to the Sharks, with 1 draw between the Sharks and the Steelers back in the day. Actually, that stat must be incorrect. You can disregard that draw. I'll say the Rugby League Project threw me a gherkin there. So it was 22 matches, 7 wins to the opposition and 15 losses. On a side point, non-history related, talking about Hazelton and the food poisoning, Iro being out with illness too, I saw that Iro was sitting with the team, no mask or anything, and looking fairly fine on Sunday. So not sure if he was rested or if he also ate at the same kebab shop or whatever got Hazelton. I'm not sure. But also,
hopefully it wasn't the Bratwurst fan.
Hopefully not.
We love the Bratwurst fan.
Or the new one.
That would ruin all our days. But on a side point, just put a thought in this, maybe a talking point in the coming weeks. But COVID and illness protocols, COVID's no longer a thing. No, don't have them. But the team's been flat at times, and I'm sure if it's a burnout thing, it's a power play thing, or it's an actual illness thing. I know we went to Brisbane in 2022. All the team had the flu, I think like influenza, and we played flat as attack. I don't know if the Panthers, I think they actually went into a bit of a bubble last year, if it's worth putting that in place, because you don't want a 1995 World Cup semi-final, or World Cup final, where New Zealand notoriously got, I think, food poisoning from the South Africans. You don't want that kind of thing happening and ruining your day at a prelim or a grand final. So look after yourselves, please, Sharks. As for a tip this weekend, my head says Dragons by 8. I'm worried because I know Flano, he can get the game up. If we play like we did on the weekend against the Knights, we will get towed by more. But my heart says Sharks rock up for this. Surely, if you can't get up for this, you'll never get up. Sharks by 8.
And because Williams refused to read the message, SJD comes in and says, "We are the bigger brother, not Illawarra."
Thanks,
Franco.
Thank you,
by
SJD.
2.0. Who the heck are the St. George? It is blacked out there. So thank you, Williams 2.0. Appreciate that. I threw in the heck because I'm assuming that's what you meant. And here we go. We've got Adelmo, who says win is their Bermuda Triangle. And yeah, you're right. As Williams touched on, we are not doing too well there. But, recent form, key word, I think that nullifies the term streak. Says we should be doing well. CK, are there any big matchups that we should worry about? We've got Bird and Hunt in the halves, both pretty good players on their day, but as part of a St. George outfit, are they a threat?
Look, if you asked me 3 weeks ago, I'd probably say not really at all. Obviously, the stadium's close to me. It's about 5 minutes east that way. So a bit of a home game for me. It's going against all my fibre and going to this match with a lot of Dragons fans. So I try and stay away from the away matches these days because I'm just over it. But yeah, I tell a lot of people Jack Bird hasn't been the same player since 2015, 2016, if not 2017. So he's not really a threat. He was a bit off in this game. I watched the game before ours where the Dragons conceded a try about the third or fourth tackle of the match. Length of the field try down there at Wynn Stadium, and I thought they're in for a long afternoon. Ben Hunt hasn't been in great form, but he had a really good game on the weekend. I agree with the boys. If Flano sort of stirred the pot last time and said, Sharks haven't won a premiership since I left, which is a bit of a jab. And we only prevailed in that game 2010. And I thought, back then when we were playing at home back in May, I thought, we were a hotter team and they were real low down the table. And they sort of stuck with us and we didn't really sort of skip away. The Dragons have come off beating Melbourne. They come off beating the Titans, who we obviously flog. Not all teams can hold out teams, but we did. But they're riding high. They're sitting 8th. Us beating the Knights did them a big favour in creating a gap there. They got a bit of a soft draw after us. So, I think they're going to be up for it. It's going to be a bit of a tight game. They're just sort of working as an awkward unit like they are in these sort of situations where these teams are, normally ranked 8th or 10th, sort of like Newcastle are, sort of like the Dolphins are, sort of like Brisbane might be. That sort of tricky team that we should be beating being 4th versus 8th, but they just might hang around. Going down a win on a Sunday is a bit tricky. I thought if we had a full-strength team, minus, obviously Nico, if we still had Katoa, we still had Talakai, there's a bit of an edge there. But yeah, their bench is awful compared to us. You got 2 blokes in there playing the same sort of position. Their 9 isn't great. And, like I said, Jack Bird's not the same player. But Sloane's found a bit of form after being dropped. Their twin centres aren't much chop, but we'll just see how it goes. It's going to be a local derby. We know what these are like. You throw the form book out the window. We've won ones where we shouldn't. They've won ones when they shouldn't. So we'll see. SJD's jumped and said, "What's win? You mean lose stadium?" Yeah, we have a joke. There's lose stadium and there's win stadium and there's Okie and there's Okie Dokie because they've used their multiple sponsors across 2 parks before. So there's a Dargans joke. I haven't been to a Dragons game in a while, so I don't miss haven't won Sweet FA in 50 years. I haven't heard that in a long time because obviously we're in front of them at the moment. So again, a couple of weeks ago we probably would have walked down there in the Wynn Stadium. It would have been easy, but I think now the Dragons have found a bit of form. I think it'll be close to a sellout. It's going to struggle to get a mid-strength beer on the hill, overlooking the beach there. So we'll see with this space. I'm still tipping Sharks by a non-blocking field goal. So hopefully we can just get a win. Sneak out with a win, steal the 2 points and walk out.
Yeah.
Well, Peter kicks in and he says, "I love that jumper, CK." So absolutely, it's a good one.
It's one of the best, Peter, but I've got plenty more.
I am a little bit concerned about probably only Lomax, and this is probably a little bit naive because I do agree with most of the panelists here sort of saying that the Dragons will show up. It is a derby. They're always full of intensity. It's never really a cakewalk. But Lomax, I just think he's got that real intent at the moment. His speed, his height, and he's going to be kicking them from the sideline. That'll keep the pressure on us to make sure that we're scoring in 6s. I'll still pick the Sharkies. I think that we will win, and I think not as close as you, CK, but I might pair myself up with Boldo, who comes in and says Sharks will win by 8.
Stole mine. Everyone's going 8.
Yeah.
I think we have to start
13
early.
plus.
They'll be up for it. Whew,
Can I
love
just
that
say that lineup reminds me of when Williams has spoken on it before. We were like, oh, this team's not so bad. We should make the semis. And then you look back 10 years ago and you're like, what the hell was that first grade team? Dragons fans should be doing that. Like, they really should be going. We've got 2 brothers in there in the centres and the back row coming off the bench. Like, they're obviously, we'll talk about who they're signing and who they're looking for in the league coming up, but they're missing a lot. Like, they're really missing a lot.
I'm not going to lie. I thought it was the Engadine Dragons when you pulled up the team sheet. There's a few new names there I've never heard of.
To Flano's credit, he can get him moving.
If you really want to let Lat unleash on this team, he will, like this club.
Hold me back. I'm holding myself back.
Well, we'll hear all about it on the debrief, mate. Absolutely. So SJD keeps in and he says the Dargans are a great bench. 2 of them can help me move houses.
I'm assuming it's the Couchman. What a great movie company name, the Couchman Brothers.
And then Williams 2.0 says their pack is trash compared to ours. Not one of their pack gets into our pack.
We're not disagreeing with that. We're just saying they're a bit parts team who, they upset the Storm only a couple of weeks ago. The Titans were going quite well. But they are due for one of their oops-a-daisy matches. The Panthers come in the win 2 weeks prior to that and absolutely knocked the floor out of them. The Roosters should have put 60 on them a couple of weeks before that. So they're due for one of their oopsie-daisies. But at the moment, like I said, they're sitting in 8th. A little bit of beliefs in there, probably looking at the draw and where they're sitting. So they might be, and then they get to play Big Brother. So let's see what happens.
Yeah. Flano will have them absolutely fired up if we can break their backs and hearts in the first 10 to 20 minutes, like the good inverted commas Dragons team used to do to us around 2009, 2010. Then we'll be all right.
So and SJD comes in with LOL at 8 points. He's going 19 plus.
Well, it's up to you, Coach.
Love the confidence.
Yeah, it's going to be a big one. Like I said, I think they're going to turn up, and it will be tighter than what we all expect. But you know what? If we romp it home, I'll be happy for sure. Now, Paul kicks in. He says, "I'm butthurt. I won't even put his questions up." So, and he calls me a cat to boot. Now, geez, I'll have
I think
to
that
look
might have
through
auto-corrected to cat, mate.
Oh, do you know what it was? Quite possibly.
Dropped a letter.
Now he says questions plural. I don't know. What have we got?
Fire, man. Yeah.
I've got one here, Paul. Let's go with this one. It says question: if Hines and Trindle are our halves and Atkinson misses out with Siffer back in, which forward misses out?
Hazelton.
Jack Williams.
Not a shadow of a doubt. Jack Williams is on fire right now. Hazelton, unfortunately.
Hazelton. I think Paul, you'll find that who misses out is Hamlin Ueli, because I'll give him a game off to rest his sore knee. So that we know that he's nursing an injury. So if that particular scenario is in place, they'll take the opportunity to give him a week off and rest him up before the finals.
One. We've already given you 3 different answers. We might as well give you a 4.
Go on, lad.
I'm just going to throw Toby Rudolph in because no one else has said him yet.
We'll give you 4 different answers.
Brilliant. Very good. Well, I don't know, Paul. That's all I've got, buddy. That's all I've got, apart from you telling me to drop it. It's over. Now, I'm pretty sure I remember that one popping up with the Eero Talakai discussion. I don't know, mate. We'll see. But I did say that I think Eero's got his spot now. And then we've got Williams 2.0 saying Sharks 1 to 12, Hazelton and Eero anytime. Gamble.
You win some, you lose more.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Now on to the next. We've got capping this off, this match off with another doubleheader. The ladder topping NRLW Sharkies take on the 9th place Dragons. Do you want to take us through this team, Kelly?
No.
Please.
Yeah, so like I said, Franco, the girls are undefeated at the moment, doing quite well. And they've got Staples, Davis, Welsh, Penatini, Biddle, Ravis, Tomagato. Oh, she spelled that one wrong. Preston, Johnson, Dodo, Wheeler, Falakai, Byers, Anderson with Smalley, Sanders, Takaputulu. I still can't do it. And Divic as the lock, with Tony Herman as the coach. The girls are doing quite well. They're shocking the world, and it's great to see. So hopefully they can kick on with this game. So the Dragons line up with the team versus the Sharks. And Tegan Berry at fullback. Paseka, Brown, Law, Gregory, King, McGregor, and we're just going to go with Katoa, Hopkins, Mulhall, Lendl, Basim, and Tunani. Casey Ray lines up in 14. She played last week at number 9. Bit of a family connection there with my wife works alongside her mum and her auntie, and she's also the niece of the Stewart brothers. So she's doing quite well. She was the player of the match in the under-19s of New South Wales and went to the same high school as my kids. So she's a local girl who lives around the corner, actually from the stadium. So she lives literally 2 streets away. Ella Costa, Jameel Bright, and Steph Hancock with Jamie Soward, the coach.
Sounds like you're a bit of a Dragons fan there, CK. You're going to let it...
Whoa.
Whoa. You can go with the Roosters, but you're not going to fire a Dragons fan at me. But I did happen to catch the match because I had my wife's celebration down the road from our house, which is just down the street, and the reserve grade Dragons and Canberra Raiders were playing. So my nephew was quite excited to see a few blokes like Ravalala and Big Corey Horsburgh roaming around, so a co-redhead with him. And then they also had, they had the women's match on the 12 o'clock time slot at Wynn Stadium. So that was being shown on the TV down here, and the Dragons scored early, but the Roosters ran away. And much to my father-in-law's dismay, who believes their team is under a massive sombrero as well, got away with the win. So the Dragons have sort of been in and around there. Like I said, they've got some good young players. Tegan Berry's an absolute star. The coach, Soward, has made a couple of changes, but they are in 9th spot, and I do expect our girls to go out and get a nice, comfortable win.
No offense to poor Angelina, but she was the reason why I was more than happy for you to take the reins and name the team, Kelly.
Let's go. Takaranga Katoa. It's quite easy to say, but as you're rolling through the team list, it gets a bit harder as you go.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to lie, Kelly. I thought you might have thrown the men's team up there just for comedy reasons.
Yeah.
Williams, you were at the game.
Elsie from the Dragons has moved on to the Parramatta Eels, so you can't really fly the men flag out there anymore or question the female boxers. So yeah, go for it.
You were at the game there, Williams, for the double header. What was the crowd? Were they getting into it? Was it a good match? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I was in 2 minds. So I got there early in time for kickoff of the women's, and the parking was back to near the speed camera on Catching the Drive. We parked in our little secret spot behind Gannon's Road, as we do there, and wandered on down. And unfortunately, it looked like a lot of the crowd. I was like, "Oh, this would be huge for the women's." It seems like a lot of the crowd were maybe eating in Woolooware Bay or whatever. So initially, the first half not too big, but as the game went on, similar to that Raiders game, first women's game we went to last year, Franco, the crowd got bigger, got into it, and it was good. We really kind of played it out defensively. Obviously, Newcastle are a very, very good side. Their fullback, Upton, fantastic. She saved Newcastle on several occasions there, with just great takes from bombs, an intercept, a couple of really good one-on-one tackles when we made breaks. So I was really impressed with the girls, despite being 3 tries to 2 and goal kicking winning out. They played a fair bit of it down the northern end of the second half and just ground the game out, which was good to see. I watched it from the Family Hill, so I was up in the Family Hill for the first time in, goodness knows, well over a decade, as hanging out with a mate and some of his kids. So our boys were loving it, and it was really good to see. So good to watch some quality, fast football. And just, good start to the afternoon. My brother Blake was also there saying that, the hoodoo at Shark Park, only one team wins or the other. Usually the women's team wins and the men's team doesn't. But anyway, we broke that hoodoo and got double wins for a combined margin of 3. Doesn't matter how they come. Both teams got the wins. So that was good.
Very good. Well, 2.0 kicks in. He says, Soward coaching. That'll do me. And then he also says, wash your mouth out, CK. Jack will not miss anything. So Yeah, we've got a
If
bit
you're,
of.
taking if you're taking Jack Williams over Talakai, bring it on. Bring it on.
That's not the question.
I know it wasn't. I just, read the notes. That's what it has. So.
And then Sonia kicks in, says the St. Merge have been lulled into a false sense of security. Sharks will be victorious. So, well, we all certainly hope that. Now everyone's just calling everyone out here. SJD says the only cat autocorrect is Williams for not answering my trivia cue.
Right here, SJD. I was ready to throw it up, but it wasn't the right time. So it was Manly versus Parramatta Brookvale Oval in 2003, and Ben Walker kicked a penalty goal to win. I don't know what the finals. I can't remember the final score. I think it was a high-scoring match, but I'm pretty sure it was Ben Walker that kicked the penalty goal to win that one in 03.
There you go. See, you should never think that he's not going to get that right, especially when we give him half an hour to think about it.
He's had time to answer and read it.
Yeah, as you said, you go back to the video, and I did not do these ones at all. But
absolutely.
David Balderman was just sending me text messages, but that's okay.
Well, I think also, I'm going to say the NRLW team's going to win. It's good to see Tanagato back. I think it's going to be a good game. Going to be fun all round, I reckon. Double header. Beat the Dragons twice. Can't be better. Boldo's asking, is this Shani's first match?
Incorrect.
I thought she
played off the bench last week.
Yeah.
Trying to throw curveballs at us. Come on, mate.
Yeah. We got you covered.
Pretending
he's got hammy poisoning.
Pretending he knows what he's talking about again, eh? So, all right, we have got
SJD got back to me with an answer as well. His answer was he doesn't know the answer. So, thank you.
So even if you didn't, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We'll just go with Ben Walker penalty goal.
I should have said it was Bears versus Jets or something like that.
All right, CK, it's time for the league roundup, buddy. What have you got for us?
Well, after missing last week, guys, which I apologise, got caught up with work, I did a quick review to see what you guys spoke on last week, just in case I wasn't doubling down. So we start with the big news on the back of our little brother signing one Valentine Holmes there. I got to see last week's show where Franco said Val Holmes is staying on at the Cowboys and refuting to leave. He's going to stay on for another year and see how it goes. So on the back of Franco's around the league news, Valentine Holmes has now signed a 3-year, $2.1 million deal with the St. George Illawarra Dragons. He's over 30 at this stage, so he is going to push into that sort of upper 30s and be on over $800,000. I went through the socials. There's a lot of Cowboys fans saying we're finally going to lose a turnstile, but a great try scorer. I sort of questioned a few Dragons fans in regards to, well, Ben Hunt's only probably got a year or two left him, and I don't know what else is coming. So we'll see Val Holmes in the Red V. Franco, how do you feel about that as, a big Val lover? You're going to see him run around for the Dragoons.
It certainly adds more spice to the already spicy derby, doesn't it? I'm torn because I think we sort of discussed this. I wouldn't have him back at the Sharks, but I don't like seeing him play for other teams, let alone the Dragons. So yeah, no, it hurts. I do think he could have reached higher heights had he not sort of gone off to the NFL and mucked around there for a year while he was sort of in his peak development period. I don't think he's ever really reached those same heights again, although, and we all know he's still a great quality player, putting us out of our misery in the finals match. So yeah, it's harsh. I don't like it, but oh well.
Yeah, I think they've replaced like for like and Lomax, and if you're Val Holmes, you've won the absolute lottery being over 30 and getting $2.1 million. So good luck to Val, but we'll watch this space.
It almost reeks of a Dugan signing from Flano there.
Yeah, it's
on par.
He mentioned the same about Woodsy today on Triple M, saying I overpaid you when you came along too. So yeah, I understand. We know how Flano works and what's going on, but obviously he needs a starter trying to attract more. But I think his cap's going to go a little out of whack. On the back of the last photo, we've got a second photo up here of Latrell Mitchell just hanging out in a room somewhere, which got leaked on the social media. There's obviously been a bit of back and forth with the NRL. Latrell sort of bunkered down and not really answering or coming outside of his home. So the league's come out today, and including with South, and issued Latrell with a breach notice, with South now fining Latrell $250,000. They've also agreed to suspend him for one match, which, funnily enough, they've said or suggested it's going to see out this season. But he's been ruled out for the rest of the season with an injury. So whether they're playing a bit of silly buggers and watch this space, but he has 4 days to respond for that. There's $250,000. So it's a big whack for.
Wow.
I did see his mates come out in Todd Carney and Mitchell Pearce and defend Latrell a little bit, where they've had their photo indiscretions before. Mitchell calling out for people who take the photos to be plastered on the media. But I suggested playing a bit of devil's advocate. What if it was the person that might have been there supplying said alleged thing and then gave out a list of people? I don't think they want that. So, I think we should just move on from it, and Latrell cops his medicine.
And as everyone has continually pointed out, there is no confirmation of what is going on in that photo. Could be anything.
Correct.
Could be baking cookies.
Blowing his nose. Obviously, like we've touched on before, Graham Ansley's come out and defended all the decisions on the weekend, including the ridiculous Panthers Storm obstruction try, where one of the Storm players literally ran into Nathan Cleary and knocked him over from a scrum base, and they scored. And to much of me and Latz's multi-delight, that Anderson went over for the first try. He's defended that. He's defended the captain's challenge with the Pappenhausen short kick. There was also the Kafusi got cited about 15 times at a Dolphins match. We saw Afasalamoto get sent to the bin for 10 minutes for an accidental high shot where he actually cleaned up Munster, his teammate. But then Mitch Kenny was not sin binned and faces 2-week suspension this week. And then also, like I mentioned before, Sione Katoa getting a late shot later on and now in concussion protocol. So watch this space to see what happens in the off-season. But I think he's sitting on a bit of a hot pan at the moment.
I think case closed was the term that Annesley used, which will probably get a bit of a run or a bit of a hashtag getting around. It's almost seeming a bit like Judge Judy now. It's just like, next case, out. Yes, of course I'm right. Move on.
To his credit, he is backing the referees, but he's kind of backing himself more than the referees, that the rule book is correct and they're putting it to the right letter. But it's kind of like me going out and grabbing someone who's jaywalking. Like there's right and wrong, and there's doing the right thing by everybody. So I think you should just come out and say, look, there was mistakes made, and we move on. But we've all seen terrible decisions.
I still think, unfortunately, the whole concept is a waste of time. I like the intent behind it, but I think the execution is. There's humans. If you need to announce and say, for clarification, this is the new interpretation of the blocker rule, for example. But I think going through each one, the NRL is always going to, I suppose, rightly so, from a management perspective, back their referees.
And look, I've gone through and watched a few of them a couple of times. Some go for 10 minutes, some go for 20. He does go through a lot of video and stuff, but sometimes the way he explains it just comes off absolutely arrogant, and he's in the right, and it smells weird. So. Yeah, we'll watch this space.
I think it's one of those problems where if they don't do it, they get called out for hiding. And if they do it, they get called out for being arrogant or for not listening or for just defending themselves. So it is a lose-lose situation in my mind.
On a slight tangent. I really like how, it was in our favour, but when Crossland got sin binned, Sutton explained it specifically. He's like, you tried to kill the play, that's a professional foul, you're gone. Not just, I've just said so, gone. He explained exactly what it was there and then, which was, I was on my way to quickly go to the toilet at halftime and beat the crowd. I could almost hear it from where I was. It was just like, okay, that's good. That's
I know we talked about it before, but it was a bit of an issue for me with Crossland really not leaving straight away, and then Gagai complaining to the referee, who's not the captain. And we keep seeing this in other games as well. So, I saw an interview with Bill Harrigan. He was on the Sunday Footy Show and talking, and he was pretty much saying, I'm glad I refereed 20 or 30 years ago instead of today, because he wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah. It's tough.
On the weekend, we got to see the Hammer versus the Fox in an absolute gun of a foot race where the Fox picked up a loose ball, thought he was home and hosed. The Hammer, in his ever relaxed pose, came across field, hesitated, went up to about third gear and cleaned up the Fox and put him to touch. Everyone was screaming about it, including myself. It was absolutely fantastic to see. And it warms up nicely to the end of the season where they're talking about a grand final day, having a 100-metre race between some of the fastest guys, including the Hammer, the Fox, Jason Saab, Calm Pereira, perhaps Tyrell Sloan, anyone else who wants to put their hand up. But Jason Saab came out today with a bit of a barb and said, well, I might be busy on that day anyway. So talking about being on grand final day and playing in the grand final. So I'll throw it. We used to see him back in the day with ET versus Martin O'Fire. People used to love him. The NFL's talked about doing one as well because they've got some absolute speeders. The only issue is obviously a few of these guys have a few hamstring issues like the Fox, like Jason Saab. I don't think they want to be laid up over Christmas, but I'd like to see where they can do it, maybe, in a race, but also maybe a time trial as well and see who's got the fastest time out there. But Lats, you excited to see a 100-metre race on the grand final day?
Oh, mate, I'm pumped. This got me so excited, this rundown, watching this. It was, as Vossi said, one for the ages, and you could just see him coming across. You could tell the Fox wasn't 100% in his run, but just to get close to the Fox, you're doing well, even if he's on one leg.
Throw a market up there. Who do you reckon's the fastest? Who do you reckon gets the jockeys on grand final day?
Mate, I'll tell you what, I'm going to put, if he's fit, Ronnie up as a smoky. Last year, he ran the quickest. He was clocked the quickest on the Telstra tracker, beating, I think it was Saab by about 1 or 2 seconds. So if they're all fit, then I'm going to go with Ronnie.
That's a peak, not over 100 metres though, lads.
It's all right, mate. It's all right as long as he gets in front at some point.
The old sprint coach, Roger Ferrari's been on the Fuel podcast before, and he said he's happy to throw up 20K for anyone to take on Jason Saab. He's that confident. So he reckons he's the fastest guy there. But like I said, I think he's had about 3 or 4 hamstring twinges already this season. So could be interesting. But yeah, we'll
love to see
grand final day.
Luke Cavell have a crack.
If you're worried about,
and then throw on a mascot race at the end.
Yeah.
As Kelly said, if they're worried about hamstrings, then surely they just reschedule it to the Corso at about 2 a.m. on a Sunday morning. There'll be no issues there. A few beers into them, and Turbo will lead the way.
Boldo's clocked in and come in with end of season ET stand race. Who would win over 100 metres? Well, Boldo, your hammy would blow out after 5, so we can rule you out, mate. And yeah, I think Matty Williams might have us covered, to be honest.
And
unless Chris goes in another 12 beers deep like he did the debrief last week, I think he might be a chance then.
Yeah, Boldo, you've tested your hamstrings. You can't even run the soccer field, let alone 100
I heard that was just walking from the car to the ground.
Yeah, and that was in a classic over 50s match, so he's got no chance in this race.
This reminds me of the race that we had. What was it? 2009, maybe 2010. Where Gardner participated in the running match. They did it full spikes on a 400 meter running track. He didn't do well. He wasn't even the fastest player in our team at the time, but got the gig because he had a couple of 80, 90 meter tries in that season. But I really want to see like an all-stars style event. If they hold it on grand final day, that's fine. You can work it in and around all the various festivities of the day, have a goal kicking competition, have a field goal kicking competition, running match, passing match. I think it'd be excellent to just,
and that's
add a bit of
better
fun.
idea than Bulldog Richie throwing up, we should be competing with the AFL and paying some band $3 million to come and play for 20 minutes. Like it's, SJD's come and said, I feel like Franco is the fastest. He's an absolute 10-foot gazelle.
Just to confirm, SJD, we're talking about over 100 metres, not in the bedroom, mate.
Mate, you know what? First is first.
If you're not first, you're last.
Like it's 10 p.m.
Oh, yes. All
As
right.
our viewers dwindle.
Yeah. It's late. It's late at night. We can fire it out. There's no host here.
Brilliant. Very good. Thanks very much for that. Lats throwing me under the bus.
Sorry, mate.
All good, mate. All good. Look, here I go. Mike Knight backs me up. Play the ball competition. Yeah, just.
Well, we can't put Jack Williams in that.
Is that just lawn bowls or what?
Tunnel ball.
Yeah. SJD says he could picture Annesley defending OJ.
I totally agree. He's the best.
All right. SJD also says I'd even have Jack starting in the front row. Ueli is too unreliable and looked really lethargic last week. And off the back of that, Williams 2.0 says it's not the one. We'll get back to that. He says Jack over Hazelton every day. Hamlin, Ueli, and Hunt for front row. Jack 13, Talakai back row. Stick with me, CK. Nothing but love. So, yep. I think your Jack Williams comment is not going down too well with the current live viewers. We've got here Williams here saying, what is it with footy players and cruisers? So, yep, they certainly have the history in rugby league for sure. One more little jibe. Sonia says Latrell crossed the line.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's got a bit of white line fever.
But we don't know what happened there.
It's all just suggestive. Could be AI, could be Photoshop, who knows?
Dandruff.
Any and all of the above.
Yeah.
Val Holmes was just a joke, remember?
Apparently
it was just a joke.
Yeah. Yep. So very good, very funny. All right, guys. Is there anything else? Is there any stuff we've missed?
I've got a couple, Franco.
Yeah.
Today, it was announced that the Bunnies have signed one of our young guns second rowers in Max McCarthy from the Flegg side, starting from the 2025 season on a development contract. He's a weapon of a kid. He's a try-scoring machine. Look, I guess it's probably hard to forge forward with the second rowers that we've got. So he's probably found a better path there, and he will join their top 30 squad the following year in 2026. Also, mate, just while I'm still going, the Jets coming off a bye this week are playing, I think the Dragons at Collegians Sporting Complex at Wollongong on Sunday at 1
down the road.
PM down the road. So if you can get to that game, leg it to win for the double header for the NRLW and the NRL, you're doing well. Park in Chris Kelly's front yard, you'll be sweet. He'll ferry you to the game.
Yeah. Be your chauffeur.
We'll pop the address in the comments.
Just not home.
Now, there was also the Sharks threw together the members round last weekend on the Saturday, which I believe was very well received. We had one of the commenters, I think it was Sonia, who mentioned it was a great day. Lots of positive feedback I've seen and heard from the players interacting with the fans there, giving their time. I haven't been to many members' days like this. Normally it's on a day that I can't get to. I'm really kicking myself that I wasn't able to get there, especially considering this one was totally doable. But really good to see the club putting these on, and the positive feedback is excellent. So well done, the Sharkies, for putting that on. Well, if that's
to be honest, I didn't even know it was on because Boldo gets all the alerts and didn't pass them on. So I would have gone, but yeah, sounds good.
It's certainly Boldo's secret, isn't it? He won't let us know. That's for sure. Well, thanks very much, Williams, Lats, Kelly. Great show as always. Coming up, we will have our Sunday debrief, which should be after the NRLW match or the Matty Johns show. They're kind of on in parallel. We'll confirm the schedule, so make sure you've subscribed to be notified. We're going to do the Cronulla Chronicles episode. It'll go up in the next couple of days. We're filming that one tomorrow night, I believe. Is there anything you want to add or comment there, Williams? Do you know who's doing that with you yet?
It's either you or Kelly, or maybe myself on my own, either or. Or all the above. 2013 Monday. Oh, yeah, it was a Saturday night. For some reason, I thought it was a Monday night. It was a Saturday night game for Feeder Try.
All right. Well, we'll
Todd
work
can't
out
hear
who's
us.
with you, mate. We won't leave you on your own. It's a cracker of a game, so I'm sure we'll love to talk about that one. And then we will be back next Tuesday with our regular show. Thanks very much, everyone, for hanging with us. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We've got an Instagram. We've got a Facebook. CK, what's the Instagram handle?
Just at ET Stand Podcast. Nice and
At
easy one,
ET
guys.
Stand Podcast. Get in there. Lats, what's our Facebook page?
It's the ET Stand podcast page on Facebook.
There you go. You guys should be able to find that pretty easy, I reckon. If you missed the show live, drop some comments down below. Let us know your thoughts on the Sharks, how we're going, how the ET Stand podcast is going, the season in general. We love having you guys. We love doing this. It's really good fun. Rate us on Spotify, all of that sort of stuff. But Lats, CK, Williams, thank you very much once again, gang. Up, Cronulla.
For over 50 years, people have come to see the Sharks play. Talent, skill, speed, intelligence, elite-level athleticism. That's not these guys. Biased, one-eyed, opinionated, more often wrong than right. They make up for their complete lack of talent with pure dribble, gibberish, and enthusiasm. This is the ET Stand Podcast.